Good afternoon and welcome to Coffee with a Kick. I'm Xander. That's Keegan, and we are here for our comeuppance, essentially, because this was Matchday 30 did not go our way in any stretch of the imagination. Neither did our teams do particularly well, nor did we ourselves pick particularly well. And I have gone back and calibrated a new statistic to show how poorly we did. So that'll be fun to get there. Anything else you want to say before we go ahead and get into whatever happened?
Well, as we'll discuss, a bit somber from some of the results, but it's fine. We'll discuss it later. We'll get into it.
We'll get to it eventually. All right. Well, first up, we had a lot of high goal scoring matches this weekend, which we did not anticipate. This is Newcastle beating West Ham 4-3 in a thrilling match. I mean, Newcastle was up and then they were down. Let's see what I say here. The pin in the 6th minute was like a pretty standard penalty. I mean, it was definitely a penalty. But then West Ham countered classically, I would say, with the Antonio goal there in the 21st minute. And then West Ham continues and goes up 3-1 there shortly into the second half before late Newcastle gets a much more questionable penalty. I thought that was a pretty questionable penalty for that second one. And then Harvey Barnes in the 83rd and 90th minute getting 2 goals, which were putting them ahead in the comeback winning, which we didn't think. We both thought that West Ham. Well, I thought that West Ham win. You had it as 2-2 draw, but a thrilling match nonetheless, even if we did get it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to Newcastle for being able to claw out of that, because they let Jared Bowen score 3 minutes into the second half to go down 3-1. And really, there was like a few chances, but it didn't really come until the end. I agree with you. The penalty could have gone either way. It was definitely softer than the very first one. Mm-hmm. So it was shocking to see him give that. But if you're West Ham, you still got to get the job done.
Yeah. Speaking of which, 90 plus 7, Sobchak should have had a goal. He was almost shocked on the backside of play to get that free of a hit on it. But ended up trying to chest it and it went wide instead of putting his head on it. It could have drawn very easily in that.
Yeah, but 4-3, I mean, those are important points for Newcastle. That should be a confidence booster, especially coming back from being down 3-1. Boy, that was a crumbling of all crumbles for West Ham.
Yeah, for West Ham, there are a couple of those happened this weekend. Don't have one up next, though, which is Burnley taking down Everton 2-1. Well, I say that, but kind of this was also a crumbling, because Everton, just when they think they're back in, they're actually back out. With not a lot happened in the first half at all. My first note was Solanke's goal in the 64th minute. That it was a great ball in by their Lloyd Kelly, and Solanke put it away quite easily. But then in the 87th minute, Everton gets this one essentially gifted to them because the goalkeeper there for Bournemouth drops the ball. I guess he was trying to get a whistle. He thought he was going to get a whistle, but he got hit by his own guy, so they didn't give it to him, and Beto puts it in. But Everton, being Everton, gives it right back, and truly it was an egregious own goal there in the 90+ one by Seamus Coleman.
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth gets lucky. The ball, I mean, it's a great cross. It goes past Pickford, but, I mean, Coleman just looks like he loses control of his body. Mm-hmm. And he just lets it go in, and the Bournemouth keeper will be very happy to see that one go in. I mean, I feel like the equalizer could have, I don't know. Neto went to go claim it, but he dropped it, went right to the attacker. So it's kind of hard to hard to see you lose that way. So I think Neto, after fumbling the ball and giving Everton the goal, super happy to see Seamus Coleman put it into the net.
Yeah. You'll take the 3 points anyway. You can get it if you're Bournemouth, considering the streak that they had been on, which was certainly less. Considering the streak that they had been on with so much quality in the past couple weeks, giving up there at the very end would have certainly been demoralizing. They're truly safe now, I think, up at 38 points. So I think that they can coast for the rest of the season without too much of a worry. Then to a game that you ended up you called exactly correct. So you'll be happy to hear that. You got this one exactly right. Chelsea and Burnley 2-2 draw. Certainly not the way they would have drawn it up, though.
Yeah, I mean, again, props to Burnley. I mean, they go a man down. They give up a goal in the penalty. They get a goal back. They fight hard. Another goal. I mean, Burnley was not out of this game. Chelsea possessed a little better, but it was actually a pretty decent match to watch. Like, if you want to go watch the highlights, it was fun. And there were 20 total shots on target combined. Felt like it could have been even more than 2-2. But yeah, I mean, Burnley, they came out. They knew they had to get some points. And getting points at Stamford Bridge is very important. So kudos to Dara O'Shea in the 81st for getting that point for him. Yeah,
not only a man down, a manager down, considering that Vincent got his own straight red there for dissent. It took that back heel, though, by Sterling to free Cole Palmer to finally do something with the ball in the box. He had so many chances earlier in the match. Saying he's due isn't quite right because he kind of bungled some of those other ones. So it was about time is more the feeling for Cole Palmer in that instance. But Raheem Sterling, really nice back heel pass to spring him for that one. But yeah, good for Burnley. Sticking to it. Not quite dead yet is the answer. I mean, there's still only 4 points out of safety. I mean, they'd have to get full points because their goal difference is still sitting at a staggering, not as staggering as the -50 for Sheffield, but a staggering -34 goal difference. And Nottingham and Lutontown are both well above that. So they're going to have to outright take their place and beat them in order to be safe from relegation. But yeah, it ended up shaking out exactly the way that you thought it would. Well, score-wise, but not exactly how you would draw it up on the board for sure. Then we go to the next match here on the list, Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace. The 1-1 draw neither of us saw coming with this one here. The 11th minute goal there by Crystal Palace was really nice. Great work between Eze and Mateta, where they have great chemistry and work between the two there. For the Chris Wood goal, really is a little blooper of a header. Really well worked by Chris. It was a short ball in that caught Crystal Palace sort of off guard. And he checks over his shoulder, sees the goalkeepers coming towards him, and just barely lifts it with his head. Two really good looping goals this weekend. One of them an actual chip. This one more of a header. It was a header. And it dropped right under the bar and went in quite nicely. Really, though, I feel like Crystal Palace is coming away with this one upset because as he had a really good shot, really good chance there in the 51st that he should have converted, and they were certainly the more they seemed more likely. Nottingham Forest had more chances, but it seemed that Crystal Palace was more likely in the end for me to get a second.
Yeah, Nottingham, as we said in the other episode, I mean, this was their chance. At home, Crystal Palace is 14th. They're not in good form. This is the time where you really get a victory. You tie with Everton. You further that gap. But, I mean, they missed an opportunity here.
Yep.
And I can't see it getting easier because they have a few games in there where I think they could win again. But if they're not beating Crystal Palace at home, I'm not confident they're going to go and beat anyone else at home. So, Nottingham just came out flat. As you see in the 11th minute goal, they just get caught out on a counterattack. Eze does a nice little pass through. Mateta just blasts it in from the front of the goal. It was textbook. And I felt like after that, like you said, Crystal Palace, they walk away feeling like they should have gotten 3 points. But Nottingham, I don't know what you're doing. You were at home, had all the right stuff to get a victory, and couldn't do it.
Yeah, so I think Nottingham Forest, what it comes down to is that they've got 3 games that they have circled left on the chart for this year. They've got Everton that they go to Everton, so that's not great. They go to Sheffield, which will be huge, and then they wrap up the season at Burnley. So all away matches, which not ideal.
That could be a relegation decider.
That very well could be a pivotal and consequential last day of the season there for Nottingham Forest. They're the ones they host Chelsea and City and my Wolves and Fulham, and then go to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So yeah, those 3 matches there against the other relegation sides is what they've got circled, and they've got it. Basically, they have their future in their own hands. If they want to stay up, they can get up. But they're gonna need to beat one of those 3 in order to feel safe about it. If they draw all 3 of those, it's not gonna be as easy for sure. And then we go to the Sheffield United. Another crazy match here. 3-3 second half thriller. Truly, it was only second half action on this one. Sheffield United draws Fulham 3-3. And Sheffield United, just when you think that they're turning a corner and they're gonna, put up a good result here, they go up 3-1 in the 70th minute after Brereton. I think that's how you would say Brereton. It just sounds like I'm got marbles in my mouth when I say his name. After going up 3-1 and there in the 70th minute, you're like, okay, Sheffield, you could probably coast this one out. You coasted too much, Sheffield. Coasted too much. You let Fulham back in the match there with the 86th minute by De Cordova-Reid. And then Muniz, fantastic scissor kick there by Muniz. And then 90+3 with the assist by Adama Traore, I'll add, gets the point saved there for Fulham, which seemed almost spiteful. Like, Fulham, you guys aren't, what do you need the point for? Let Sheffield have the 3, really. Yeah,
I mean, as we've seen in games before, Sheffield United is probably the worst team ever at parking the bus.
Yeah.
Because there's just no chemistry. And that's what happened. I mean, they're up 3-1, and it looked like they just were like, hey, you guys have the ball. Before that, I think possession was almost 50-50. Then pretty much after the 70th minute, it was like 90-10 Fulham for the rest of the match. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what they were doing. I felt like they were playing conservative enough. They could have just kept going after it, getting the ball, but they didn't. And it did not pay off for them. Fulham, as we've seen this season, they're not a team you want to just let freely flow, let them do what they want to do. But I mean, Sheffield United, every player was in the final third, and it felt like none of them knew what their assignment was. So,
even on the goals that they gave up, like, Paulino was not marked at all on the free kick there that Fulham scored. Muniz was freely received the ball there for the last one. And even the goals that they did score, 2 of them were honest, like, bungles by Fulham. The first one in particular was just a bad giveaway by Fulham. And then they were caught off guard by the 68th minute quick free kick by where McBurney scored. So, yeah, even when Sheffield United does well, they figure a way to mess it all up. And that's why we've had them pegged as going down since, I don't know, November probably. And they have not shown anything to convince us otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with Nottingham. 2 teams at home versus teams that aren't in the... I mean, Fulham, they had lost, then they won coming into it, 1-2 before that. They're in good form, but you're up 3-1. You got to finish it off.
Got to finish it.
But apparently them and West Ham ate the same stuff the day before as they were choking on it during the match. So I don't know what they were doing, but those are points at this point that you can't lose.
Yeah. And it's tail of their season, essentially. Then to another one. This one we both got right because it was Tottenham versus Luton. And like you can feel pretty safe about that one. Now, it being like a kind of nail biter 2-1 victory, not as not as much in our playbook as we thought. How'd you feel about this one going down there by Luton?
Yeah, I felt like going into half, Luton played extremely well because Tottenham had a lot of possession, but not a lot of quality chances. Even in the second half, they didn't have a lot of quality chances, but that own goal, I felt like they were doing so well. And then that own goal happened. And then after that, I think Kulusevski deserves to be given a day off of practice here because there were two different balls. He sent one to Werner down. I forget what minute it was, but he sent him down on a counterattack. Werner puts it wide. Puts another one into Son. Son doesn't convert. It could have been worse for Tottenham, to be honest, had they been a little bit more lethal. But Luton played well. They were looking for a point. I thought they were going to get a point. But that dastardly own goal did it to Luton. After that, you could just smell that goal coming.
Yeah, it was almost sort of a mirror match. Like Luton's goal there in the third minute, really well worked counterattack. Like it was a nice job. The Spurs defense seemed a little passive for some reason and kind of let them come at them really easily. But then, you hit the 51st minute and the just true. Like two really bad own goals in this one. I think this one's a little bit worse. But it really did kind of flip it so that Spurs were certainly the aggressor. And then come to the 86th minute, it's almost the inverse that Tottenham now gets the counterattack and they get to come down. Although I will say that Luton's counterattack was a more efficient and pretty goal. In the end, if you give up the goal there, then you're going to lose it. And that's what happened because they didn't show – there was a slight deflection on it, so, it's tough for Luton. But you didn't feel like Luton was going to be able to pull this one out. Unlike the Fulham match where you're like, okay, Sheffield, you should be able to do this. Luton, I never had confidence that they were going to hold out the whole 90 minutes.
Yeah, tough for them. They could have leapfrogged Nottingham, and they didn't.
Could have, would have, should have, but now they're still stuck right there at 22 points.
Yeah.
Then to one, which I got exactly correct. Aston Villa takes out my Wolves 2-0. This one, it wasn't close. I mean, 2-0 is right. The two goals there by Moussa Diaby and Ezri Konsa came through. It could have gone a lot different, though. Could have gone a lot different. 15th minute, like you were saying, if Wolves can come out and get something going early, maybe we got a shot. But Aït-Nouri there in the 15th minute almost seemed shocked, seemed stunned, seemed caught off guard that the ball landed right at his feet on that ball, on that cross, and choked. He choked on that shot with him and the goalkeeper, plenty of room for him to make a shot in, and it just is terrible. It's just an awful, awful attempt by him, and from there, that was the Wolves' best chance all day, and Aston Villa converted on theirs.
Yeah, Aït-Nouri throughout his brief history in the Premier League, he shows his immaturity a little bit. He's still pretty young. That was a moment where it's clear that he hasn't had a lot of practice in front of goal. Because, lands at his feet. He's got 2, maybe 3 seconds to decide, make a move. Doesn't do it. I mean, Diaby's goal could have been prevented. Just a poor clearance. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it just bounces over to him, and he just – great goal. Outside the box, whips it in. Yeah. I think when I was watching the match, I even said, this is going to be a goal before he even kicked it. You could just feel it coming onto it. But, I mean, that I felt like the Wolves still played pretty well. Like, they had more of the ball than I thought they were going to. They held Aston Villa away from their counterattacking wingers that they really like to play through. So they played well. So the scoreline, I think 2-0 is a little harsh, but it's just how the match played out.
It was more on the lines of a Burnley possession, though, because we're missing so much up front. Like, we were just trying to stall, essentially, is what it felt like. So, I mean, it was similar to some of the other matches that Villa has played and we've seen otherwise. And that Konsa's goal was the other chip that I was talking about. Really, just like a sky shot that drops right in. They thought it was the other another player's goal, but they corrected it there shortly thereafter. But yeah, unfortunate from a Wolves, but not unexpected by any means. With how much we're missing up top.
Yeah.
All right, and then we move down to my screen. There we go. Then we move down to one that, I mean, neither of us got this one right. Either Brentford and Manchester United, a 1-1 draw with, you just watch stoppage time in the second half and you'll get the whole kit and caboodle there. But really, Brentford was the better side for most of this match. They'll feel bad that, one, it took them to the 90+9 to get a goal, and two, that they only got 1 point out of this. Because United didn't have a lot going on for most of the match. 31 shots by Brentford. 31 shots. Only 5 of them on goal. So, that's why they should have had more, but it was... Even the goal that Manchester United had was strange because it was a sloppy ball, just kind of pinballing around at the top of the box. Slides over to Casemiro, who's able to slip it in. Really nice ball through to Mason Mount, who finds himself and takes care of it quite clinically. But it was my note here for the Ayer goal there for Brentford was just finally, because it felt like they had been building so long and hadn't converted anything. And finally they were able to do it. It just took them to 90+9 to do so.
Yeah, I mean, Ivan Toney's usually the one scoring, but he ended up getting the assist for the tying goal. But, I mean, you look at the stats. Brentford took a lot of shots. I definitely thought more of them were on target.
Yeah.
But 31 shots and only 5 on target. They even
3 or 4 of those, I think, were woodworks. I think that's what it is. And technically, that's not a shot on target.
Yeah.
Because it hit the woodwork.
Yeah, oh, boy. I mean, even if they get 10 out of those 31, a little bit more efficiency on target, I think they run away with this one. Brentford played like I thought Nottingham was going to play, where they're at home. They know they got to get points. They're going to come out and play, frankly, a better team, but they're going to come away with something. But yeah, I mean, throughout the entire match, I felt like Brentford played up to how they were playing in the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So maybe that's going to help them not get relegated, but it was a strong showing. I mean, especially after Mount scored, I felt like it didn't look like Brentford was dejected. It always looked like they had belief. So that shows me positive signs moving forward.
Yeah. I think that's fair. They could have, if they had been able to pull this one out, I think they would have been safe. I mean, there's still a lot of time left, but if they can keep up this momentum, they'll be fine. Because it was a good showing by them against a side who has been doing quite well this calendar year, Manchester United. And, they've been putting up... so it was unfortunate for Brentford, but we've got 2 matches left here to recap. First one being Liverpool and Brighton. I did get this one right. I broke my 11 pick losing streak with Brighton, so thank you for that, Liverpool. It's a comeback, oddly enough, by Liverpool here.
Yeah, I mean, Brighton, they're so much better than this. I'll be honest, they've had their ups and downs, but they're better than to get a second-minute goal and then give up to... I was looking great. Mm-hmm. Danny Welbeck getting a second-minute goal. I was hoping that Brighton would at least get a draw, but man, I mean, it's Liverpool. Not a lot of their chances were quality throughout the match, but I mean, they got those 2 chances they needed. Diaz and Salah putting him in. So I felt like Brighton just kind of folded after their goal. After that, it just kind of felt like they got a few counterattacks, but then it was all Liverpool the entire match. And Brighton just doesn't do well when they don't have the ball. and they're not playing their style. So interesting tactics after an early goal that I think ended up costing them. But it would have been nice for Liverpool to have dropped points.
Yeah, it definitely would have been. Liverpool was better than Brighton. It was obvious out there on the pitch, but you're right that Brighton, you can't feel that one goal is going to be enough against this Liverpool team, and that's what it felt like. It felt like they could get out of this and get a point with only one goal, and that's not how it's going to work, guys. Like Liverpool, it scores a lot. I mean, Arsenal and Liverpool both are scoring consistently many goals, except for the match we're about to get to, but only 3 shots on target the whole match. It's not going to end well, and it didn't end well. And so you're coming away. I mean, granted, you're at Anfield, so it's a tough place to play. But yeah, the strategy implemented certainly did not rebound in their interest. Then we get to what I called the headliner match. Ends up being more of a tactical stalemate, is how we'll put it here. A 0-0 draw between Arsenal and Manchester City. These stats, man, are so silly. 72.5% possession by City. So you can kind of understand this game went 1 shot on goal the whole match. Arsenal, 2 shots on goal the whole match. 700 passes by City. It was really kind of a boring match between two sides that just didn't want to lose. That was their goal coming into the day, to not lose, and that's what we ended up getting.
Yeah, I felt like City was almost afraid to shoot in some scenarios. Like if we shot it and it was a bad shot, they could get on a counter really quick. Like Arsenal did nothing in this match, and it felt like Arsenal's defenders were maybe in Haaland's head a little bit, because there was a clear chance where the ball bounces, Haaland goes to sweep his leg, and he just whiffs it. Had he put a touch on that ball towards the middle, Diaz is right there, Raya's out of position. So that was our chance. That was City's chance to score, but I don't know. It felt like Arsenal really was playing for the draw.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really feel like they were.
That's all they need. That's all they need, really.
Yeah, a draw keeps them ahead. So, but then City, we had some chances, but we just either crossed it too late and it got blocked out. We whiffed on some balls, so it didn't feel like the clinical City side we saw at this time last year when they were pretty much steamrolling everyone towards the treble. So how this form moves on, I don't know. But it'll be interesting. It definitely was a boring match for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not great. And Arsenal's probably looking down at the rest of their season and saying, hey, if we can get through this one, most of the rest of our games are quite winnable. You got Lutontown, Brighton. You get Aston Villa at home, so that makes that better. You go to Molineux, the Rock. You have to go to Tottenham. Your hardest match left is probably going to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and taking on Tottenham there in late April. Other than that, most of these are easily winnable matches. So Arsenal has kind of now been able to get through their rough patch and can coast down the rest of the season, focusing in on the Premier League. City, however, you look at their recent run of matches that they've had to play, and it's been tough these past 6 weeks or so with the matches that you have to play, and you still have to go and play Aston Villa in the midweek here. After that, you can kind of take a breather, and the rest of your season looks pretty good after that. But you still have to make up your match against Tottenham at some point. And it's, who they played? They've played Arsenal and Liverpool, and they had the Manchester Derby, And then, the past 3 weeks, 3 match days have been really tough. So getting out of it with 2 draws and a win, I think that's barely scraping by is acceptable. And now you've got a 3-point gap between you and Liverpool. I have not looked at what they've got left in this season, but I think most of these big teams have gotten their big matches out of the way at this point. But that is the match day that was match week 30. I went 3-7. The other one I got right. Oh no, we went up those. Yeah, and you went 2-8. 2-8. So that takes you down. This is the new stat that I was able to pull up. You're now at a 41% win rate, which, considering that if you're doing it randomly, we do 3 results here. So, we're better than 33 1/3%. So there's that. There's that. And I'm up. I'm still at 45% hit rate. So you are now 50 picks in the hole. That's really the sad number. 50 picks in the hole, 121 and 171. I am up at 130 and 162. A lot of makeups that we have to get through, but we're about to get that to here in a second. Anything you want to say before we go to this midweek madness we've got going on, starting here later today?
I'm gonna get to 50 by the end of the year. I'm gonna do so well.
You're gonna get to 50%. You're gonna make up 9 percentage points in the last 9 match days.
You heard it here. It's gonna be the greatest run. It's gonna be a better bull run than the stock market in 2016. Okay, it's gonna be great. So
wow, big words, big, strong, manly words.
Oh yeah.
All right, well, let's get on to some big, strong, manly picks. See if we can put your money where your mouth is here. As we move on to, I'm not going to track down where all these matches are from. I didn't feel like it, okay? We've got a midweek of stuff that had to be made up from previously in the season. A full 10 matches across Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Today, tomorrow, and Thursday. And we'll just go ahead and just start it off here with Newcastle hosting Everton. They get to start us off for 2 match days in a row. I think that Newcastle's feeling pretty good right now. Everton's not good. So I think they take it. It's pretty easy. St. James's Park, you got Everton. I think they just go in 2-0, clean up, go home, and get ready for this upcoming weekend as well.
Yeah, I don't know how to pick this one.
Well, Everton's on a 3-match losing streak. They have not won a match since they beat Burnley December 16th.
Yeah, but Newcastle's playing loss, win. Like, I'm looking at their... I think I'm going to go a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
I feel that. I think Newcastle's due for a draw. Everton's due for a point. So...
yeah, they keep... we'll see. We thought that 10-point deduction might sink them in the end, but, with Nottingham's own 4-point deduction, and we'll still see. Everton could get some points back. They're on appeal. I think it's being heard. So we'll see if they get anything back. But, a point here would do a lot towards that.
Yeah.
Next match after that, we've got Nottingham Forest and Fulham. How do you think this one shakes out? Does Nottingham get anything?
I think they play a little better in this match. I think Fulham has been a streaky team, pretty solid. I think this one is going to be 2-2. I think Fulham plays well, but Nottingham knows that they need to get a couple of points, and this is the week they actually get a point. So 2-2 draw for me.
Well, looking back at the recent history, Nottingham Forest has not fared well. They haven't scored in the past 2 matches against Fulham. I think they get a goal here. However, I think they lose 2-1. Yeah, I think Fulham is a better team. Overall, and it's even if it is at Nottingham Forest. Even it is at the City ground there. I don't think it's going to make a difference. I think Fulham is just being a jerk right now. They're just going around taking points from teams that could use them when they don't really need them for anything. And take it 2-1. Why not? Why not? This next one though, I don't have any sort of desire to watch this one. Bournemouth and Crystal Palace currently. I think this one goes boring. I think this is 0-0 is my pick for this one. Yeah. I think that this goes really sour and not good.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a match that Bournemouth has a little bit of juice for. I think Crystal Palace, they have Eze back. I think they're still without Elise. I think that really does affect their wing play. I think Bournemouth takes it 2-1. They're at home. I think Vitality Stadium revitalizes the Cherries.
But this is a 13-14 matchup. Doesn't feel like it. And there is an 8-point gap there between Bournemouth and Crystal Palace. And if that goes this way, then there will be an 11-point gap between 13 and 14 in the Champions League, in the Premier League, which is a strange place for such a gap to occur. Eze probably will get them something. I think Crystal Palace will get something from Eze. I just think that Bournemouth will at least match it. So, may not be 0-0, but I think it's still a draw. Just because Crystal wants to get secured. You know, they want to get secure, feel like they don't have to worry about staying up. So they'll at least get a point out of this one. Then I always talk about how some teams look down at the score sheet and they're like, oh, thank goodness. That's what my Wolves are feeling right now. I don't know if we'll have anybody back. I didn't look at let me see this updated injury list. Are we getting anybody back? Can we get anybody back for the midweek? Neto's still out till May. Chan's, nope, he'll be back on the weekend, in a couple weeks. Well, we'll get Craig Dawson back, it looks like, maybe. Oh, no, for the weekend. Bummer. Okay, Kuno should be back, though. Kuno looks like he'll be back. I still think that we only get a point out of it, because Kuno is, I think we can get him sprung for one counterattack against Burnley. But, the company won't be on the sideline. So I've got it as a 1-1 draw between my Wolves and Burnley.
Yep. I had the same 1-1 draw. Not much to say about it, but I think Burnley's still going to be fighting, especially after getting some points in the last week.
Get a little bit of a vibe.
Feel a little more confident that maybe they can get another point. So I'm going to go 1-1.
All right. And then we go to one of our London derbies. It's another London derby. West Ham hosts Tottenham Hotspur at London Stadium for 3:15 on a Tuesday. How do you think this one goes on this good old London derby?
This to me feels like a West Ham match that they get throttled by.
Really?
Tottenham is the team. They play a style of play that West Ham does not enjoy. Mm-hmm. So I think it ends up being 4-1 Tottenham.
Wow.
I think Tottenham's going to be – they're going to start a little quicker than they did versus Luton. I think West Ham is going to really – we've seen them give up leads or lose to teams they shouldn't, and in the next week do it again or get beat worse. Like it takes them a couple weeks to recover. So I think it's going to be 4-1 Tottenham.
4-1 Tottenham. Wow. Probably shouldn't have started talking before I take my drink. Got my weird German Stein. I think this is a 2-2 draw. I think they go in. No one gets what they want out of this one. That's what I'm smelling here. Is a 2-2 draw. Who's coming back from down? I don't know. I'll say Tottenham comes back again. Only this time they only get 1 point out of it instead of 3. No particular reason. You know me. I hate picking West Ham matches. That's big. How bad am I at West Ham? Let's see. How bad is it at West Ham for me? West Ham. I'm currently 11-19. Okay, not too bad. Everton's still my worst. No, Brighton. They've now become my worst. 8-21 picking Brighton matches. Gross, dude. That's gross. But 2-2. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Here's another one. I feel good about this one. Arsenal hosts Luton Town on Wednesday. 3-1. I think this is clean. I think it's easy. 3-1 Arsenal. Luton. I have no inkling that you'll have any sort of chance in this match.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same prediction. I think Arsenal, their defense might leak one, but I think ultimately they play confident enough and well enough to put a team like Luton away and not. I think Luton's goal will be like catch them sleeping early second half maybe, but yeah, I think Arsenal takes it pretty easily. I'm going 3-1 too.
See, so that's so weird. You just must hate Liverpool that much more, right? Because I feel like if it was Liverpool Luton, you'd probably pick at least a draw. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. Oh, that's a good point because they do play another terrible, terrible team. Next match also on Wednesday. Next also on tomorrow. Brentford hosts Brighton there at G-Tech Community Stadium. Do you think his team gets all 4-3 out of it? Do you think?
I'm thinking a 2-2 draw.
Really?
I think both teams want points. Brentford needs it more than Brighton. At this point, Brighton, who knows who they are or how they play. So I think 2-2, mainly because it's at Brentford. If it was somewhere else, if it was at Brighton, maybe I'd pick Brighton to win, but I think 2-2 feels right for Brentford being at home.
I think that Brentford carries through some of that momentum from their good play against Manchester United. And they're at home, in front of the home side. I think they take this 2-0. I think they win 2-0 here. Just because I thought that they looked much more free-flowing against Manchester United, who is, I think, they're probably a little better than that day. I think they're probably similarly as good as Brighton is because they did not play particularly well. But even so, it gives like a good comparison. And maybe we can get the Bees on an upswing here like they had at the beginning of the year, like you were talking about earlier in the episode, where we had high hopes for the Bees this year. But they've had that streak that they've been going on, and it's just been poor. It's been bad. You know, they had that 3-game win streak back in late October, early November. Like, okay, they figured things out again. And since then, they've only won 3 more times since then. So maybe they can, I think they start on an upswing, get secure for next season. We'll see what they can do coming back next season. I think that they can work their way out of contention for that relegation spot. But before I carry on too long about them Bees, we're going to move to Manchester City hosting Aston Villa at the Etihad. This one, you're probably not going to like this answer. I think that this goes 2-2. I think this goes 2-2 City and Aston Villa, with City leading leading at some point. I think they may even be leading by 2 goals, and Aston Villa gets 2 late on, and really puts a damper on them spirits going into the rest of the season for Premier League title hopes.
It's a must win. It's at home. Pep looked pretty heated after the Arsenal match, talking to the players. As history would say, match week 30 through 38, City, I think they've only dropped like points in the last 2 or 3 years.
They lock it
between those 9 match weeks. So I think it's going to go 3-1. I think we're going to figure it out. We're going to try to make up for the reverse fixture loss to Aston Villa. So I'm going 3-1. I think we have the stuff to beat Aston Villa.
Does Haaland get shooken out of his sophomore slump at all? Or does he continue to just
hope so.
Yeah, because it's such a disappointing. I mean, he's still what? Is he still leading the Golden Boot race? If not, he's at the top. But it just coming down from the heights that he was last season. Maybe it's putting too much on him. But even so, I think he has had opportunities this year that he would have made last year. Your camera disappeared, by the way. I'm vamping while it comes back online. He could have at least easy another 5 goals this season that he would have converted last season. It doesn't help that he was out injured for a good while there this season, but even so, he's still up at the top of the near the top of the Golden Boot table. And I will go ahead. There we go. And move on to our Thursday matches. Liverpool gets Sheffield United at Anfield. This one I think also is a pretty easy one, similar to Aston Villa, but even more so. I think this is 4-0 Liverpool over Sheffield United. Sheffield United's defense has no cohesion, and I think that Liverpool will just tear them to shreds. It could be worse than 4-0, or at least have the opportunity to be, where it's just some of those shots don't just go awry for no particular reason.
Yeah, this one, I'm going to go 4-0 Liverpool.
Also 4-0.
I think it's too. It would be dumb of me to think that Sheffield could get a point, and maybe they do. This would be one I'd be okay with losing 9-1. I'd be fine with that. But I think Liverpool, they have been here before. They know what it takes, and they're not going to lose to the 20th place team. This won't be the week they drop points.
No, it will be stunning. Like, it will be truly a shocking event if Liverpool dropped a point here with the disparity in talent between these two teams. And then we wrap up this colossal midweek action with a good old a match that would have looked so good back in the noughties. Chelsea versus Manchester United at Stamford Bridge, 3:15 on Thursday. How do you think this one goes for that? Do you think either of these teams get a full 3 out of it? Neither of them. I mean, I think United, they're losing touch on that. I think they're out of the race for the 4th. So do you think what are these guys even playing for at this point?
Yeah, I think it'll be a 3-3 draw.
Wow, exciting.
I think Chelsea has been a bit more free scoring as of recent, and their defense has kind of shown their age. And Man U was a lockdown defense team. Past few weeks, they've been letting in some goals here and there. So I think, not a lot to play for as far as positioning, but I think, especially in this kind of game, there's that history, there's the pride. Mm-hmm. I think both teams come out pretty excited, and I think it ends 3-3.
I've got the same end result, but a different scoreline. I've got it as 1-1. Really, if you're Chelsea, you're feeling pretty good, I think, at this point in the season. Your young guys are starting to cohere as a unit more. You're starting to see more flashes from them that they were lacking earlier in the season. And I think you're going to want to try to just meld them together a little bit through the last part. I mean, you couldn't look at this season for Chelsea and say, like, oh, this is exactly where we want to be. But when we hit the midway point, you're looking here and like, okay, things have improved. It's not as dire of a situation as we had anticipated earlier in the season. But still, I think it goes to a 1-1 draw because why not? Why not? Why not a 1-1 draw? It seems like it could happen. Otherwise, I wouldn't pick it. But that does bring us to the end of the week that will be whatever this week is, whatever conglomeration of missed matches this ends up being. I guess whatever it is. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's this week's worth of matches. It's not a match week. It's not match week 31. That's coming up on Friday. Not Friday, but Saturday and Sunday. And then we get more Champions League. But before we go, we do have to answer that good old trivia question, which it was something about something. I know that.
Who is the oldest goal scorer in Premier League history?
Oldest goal scorer in Premier League history. and he's somebody from early this century, I think is what you said, right?
Yeah, he played late 90s into the 2000s. He's a prominent name from that era.
I'm just drawing a blank on who it is. Go ahead and drop your guess right now at this exact moment. I don't know exactly what time it will be because I haven't put this video together yet, but peg it to right now. All right. Drum roll. Who is it?
The oldest goal scorer in Premier League history is Teddy Sheringham.
Was not
He
going
was
to come
the
up with that
starting
one.
forward for the treble-winning Man U team.
Okay.
The historic. He scored in 2000. His last goal, he was 41 years old.
Wow.
Scored in 2007 for West Ham.
Okay. Well, there's where it breaks down for me. It was on West Ham at that point.
Yeah.
Well, Teddy Sheringham.
Yep.
Good old.
I think
name.
he's Sir Teddy now.
Sir Teddy Sheringham.
If I did that research right.
Of Worcester.
Yeah.
Well,
But, I mean,
good for Teddy. Good for us. And we'll see what happens in these crazy midweek matches. But until we get to the other side of that, why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch some soccer, see you on the other side. That's this you can